But can I ask you, how do you feel about Kwanzaa?
Well, okay. Again, I know Dr. Malana Karenga.
Yeah,
Spoke to him many times personally.
yeah.
Um, what it is it came out of Coweta theory, right? Coweta theory is basically communitarianism, right? The highest form of socialism is community based. Um, he decided not to be spiritual. He decided to put principles. So his Nguzu Saba is based on principles. It's basically scientific socialism
Mm.
in a
So you
sense.
you
I
do you
mean,
do agree with Kwanzaa then?
no, I agree with the principles.
All right.
I
So
just don't visualize them.
do you feel that we should celebrate it?
I think some people, if they choose to celebrate it, they should celebrate it.
Yeah, but you are surely aware that it's plagiarized. That is uh, plagiarized from Hanukkah, the Jewish holiday Hanukkah.
You mean
The time
Hanukkah?
period, the chandelier, they just changed the colors, and a lot of our people just don't know that. They think that Kwanzaa is something
Well,
genuine or legit.
the principles, um, or have something to do with our movement. And again, it was a period of time where people were studying scientific socialism, and that they decided to be principle based. The principles themselves are African principles. It's not plagiarized.
So he says, but with all fairness, and I'm not trying to start anything. I don't see why we will criticize Simon Hotep and Ujau from plagiarizing. And when it's Molana Karenga that plagiarizes Hanukkah, then it's all good. He gets a pass. Maybe it's because he has a PhD, But that's just food for thought. I'm really not expecting, because Karenga, you have, you know him, so I don't expect you to say anything, But that's just for the people. If they don't know, Mukasa Africa, when he wrote the article, he had a master's degree, but now he's a PhD. Mukasa Africa Maat, he wrote an article called Karanga's Ghost, and I invite everybody to read that article. Just not in the spirit of hate and stuff like that, but just for information's purposes. That thing that you celebrate, try to find out, the deal about this. Then you will ultimately being known about the women who were tortured, and also the accusation of fighting against the Panthers and being a government or FBI informant.
So
But
when, when you say he plagiarized from Hanukkah, right?
yes,
Which principles match from Hanukkah to
okay,
the
let's
Ngudu Saba?
let's deal with this. Let's deal with this. So I'm gonna share the link, and then it's gonna share the screen. So where is it? So Kwanzaa facts, Ranga's ghosts. Everybody can see it. Now I'm going to share the screen.
Mhm.
I actually had a short dialogue with Molefe Asante, and he
Dr.
actually,
Malefi.
yeah, Dr. Molefe Asante, and he accused Mukasa of being an agent provocateur, and
Okay.
um, why cannot why I cannot make it larger? What's going on? Okay,
We can scroll down. We can see it.
yeah, but usually I can. What's going on? Oh, that's it. Now I can. Well, okay, so where's the page? There. Oh, I haven't shared it yet. Um, Let me remove this.
You can read it. I can read it.
Hold on. So I don't have the right page. That's all.
Mhm.
And this is okay. This I'll look later on. Okay, I have to make it larger because
Uh, we can read it.
okay. All right. So I invite everybody to make sure your screen is that you have the full screen.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll put RBG. So
Mhm.
article is quite long. Okay, so this is the part of the article. If you want to look it up, it says the Kwanzaa cult and Jewish RBG candle lighting. So Mukasa wrote, "I am African spiritual and practice African rituals myself. A ritual is not cultist if it is authentically grown out of the tradition of a people. Cultist rituals are not the expressions of a yes are not the expressions of a people. Cultist rituals are non-authentic expressions to bolster the personality worship of particular individuals or group. While Kwanzaa events have helped
Is that true? Is it what he wrote is true?
that cultist rituals are non-authentic expressions to bolster the personality worship of particular individual groups,
Is that true?
I would say so. Yes. So
No. Why
what?
is it true? See,
Oh well, I would like to just read that part, which is not really
yeah,
long.
cultural rituals. So what happened in the Sabbats and the Sabbats in the nomes or the so-called nomes of ancient Egypt?
Mm.
They weren't. That wasn't. Those weren't cults. Yeah, they were cults, right?
Well, it depends if you use it. The connotation today of cult
Yeah.
is negative, like people who blindly follow individuals,
Uh,
But
well,
but but cult originally it's like a congregation, religious congregation. It's not.
right. So what happened when they
Yeah.
had local gods? Every Sabbat had a local god,
Mm,
right? And they was there the before the country was united, and then when the country was united, the king found a way to fuse those local gods into the national thinking, so to put out the wars. But
mhm.
every nome had its local god, so they were cults,
So
and they
so
had,
you say, so you
huh?
say, but I was just gonna try just to finish reading that paragraph, and it's no longer, it stops there. You see
Yeah.
where it's in bold here, that's where it stops. So it's really not long. Um, while Kwanzaa events have helped raise some African consciousness due less to Karenga and more to local activists, many who are not associated with Karenga at all, the holiday can promote a superficial and even pseudo consciousness of African lifestyle. Kwanzaa has been used to promote the personality worship of Karenga. Holly West interviewed Karenga in 1978 for the Washington Post and wrote the following: I created Kwanzaa, laughed, Ron Karenga, like a teenager who's just divulged a deeply held precious secret. People think it's African, but it's not. I
Hmm.
wanted to give black people a holiday of their own, so I
Hmm.
came up with Kwanzaa. I said it was African because black people in this country wouldn't celebrate it if they knew it was American. Also, I put it around Christmas because I knew that's when a lot of bloods, meaning blacks, will be partying. So the holiday is not authentically African, as Karenga said himself. The Jewish Hanukkah festival of lights begins on the 25th of the Jewish calendar in Kislev and lasts 8 days. It is roughly around Christmas on December 25th. A candle is burned each day with the servant or helper candle. This is strangely similar to the Kwanzaa lighting ceremony, where the servant candle is replaced with the black candle. Instead of 8 candles and the one helper candle like the Jewish celebration, Kwanzaa uses 7 candles with the colors red, black, and green. I call them Jewish RBG, red, black, and green. Candles for this very fact to note an African surface painted over a Jewish ritual. Many elders who celebrate Kwanzaa do so without the Jewish RBG candles. These elders instead pour libation, a time honored and unquestioned African tradition of thousands of years. We must be very serious about the rituals we pass down to generations. We must be very careful with those we call leaders. I will discuss more of the question around Karanga's leadership in the next section. The Kwanzaa lighting celebration with 7 principles over 7 days, although performed out of sincerity by countless blacks, is a copy of the Jewish festival of lights of 8 days. Due to this very reason, it is more cultist than it is African. Funny we have the word cultist. We learned as much from Korenga laughing like a teenager in 1978. At the very minimum, these Jewish lighting ceremonies should be eliminated to gain some respectability among the holiday's participants. So that was Mukasa Africa.
Well, that's his words.
Yes,
That's his point
yes.
of view.
With a quote from Korenga from the
No, he
Washington
had a
Post.
small quote from Dr. Karenga. He didn't
Yeah,
have.
that's one of
He
them that
used
many people
that
are not aware
quote.
of.
I mean, you do this work. He
Hmm.
used a snippet of what Dr. Karenga said on the interview, and then he put his own words. So what he contributed was
Can you
nice.
direct us to the full thing?
Um, yeah, if you give me a few minutes, I can
Oh, feel
find
free,
something
feel
and
free.
give you.
I'm interested really, because
But
I've been
I'm
interested with this for years. I even purchased the newspaper articles about the trial, when he tortured those black women. So,
okay. So I'll just Africa UPenn education.
hmm
So I will share my screen.
hmm and please, if you don't mind, can you share the link in the chat?
Yeah, when I share the
Or maybe, yeah, when you're ready, or maybe actually if you send it to the private chat, so this way I can share it and it will be a clickable link.
yeah, this is one source, and I'll get another
Of
source.
course, yes, as many as you like.
Okay, so share.
And
Uh,
in the meantime, brothers and sisters, if you want to get on the panel, then the invite link has been shared. It's in the top. It's pinned at the top of the chat. And if you don't want to show your face, then feel free to use the chat.
okay, so this is share. Okay, so this is one link. Um, so this is the African Studies program of it says okay, so it's from the university africa.upenn.edu.
Can
Uh,
you please share the link for me, brother?
yeah, uh, yeah. I'll put the link in the which we call it chat. Okay. So 1 second. I'm sorry.
No, no, no problem. Take your time.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem at all.
Uh, okay. So this is the I got to go to the YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. Okay. So this is okay. So Kwanzaa, what is it? This was in the African Studies program in Wisconsin Madison. Uh, uh, it says each December, the outreach program receives numerous inquiries about the Festival of Kwanzaa. The celebration is not a festival originating in any of the 55 African countries, nor is the African Christmas celebration. Kwanzaa is an African American celebration of life from December 26th to the 1st of January. Dr. Malala Karanga introduced the festival in '66 in the United States as a ritual to welcome the first harvest to the home of to the home. Dr. Karanga created this festival for African Americans as a response to commemoration of Christmas. In fact, one might say that Kwanzaa has similarities with Thanksgiving in the United States or the Yam Festival in Ghana and Nigeria. The word Kwanzaa is a Kiswahili, Kenyan, Uganda, Tanzanian word meaning first. 5 common sets of values are central to the activities, which you know um, in gathering, reference, commemoration, recommitment, and celebration. 7 principles in Guza Saba utilize Kiswahili, Kisa, Ki,
Swahili?
Kiswahili, uh,
Kiswahili.
yeah,
That's
words.
basically Swahili, but that's the way they
Yeah,
call their
Kiso,
language.
so, yeah, I'm getting tongue tied. Kiswahili, uh,
Kiswahili.
Swahili, words unity, umoja, self determination, Kuchishakalia, collective work and responsibility, Ujama, cooperative economics, Ujima, and then Ujama, purpose, Nia, creativity, Kumba, and faith, Imani. Each of the 7 candles signify the principles. Like the Jewish Hanukkah candles are used to represent concepts of the holiday, right? So it says, like the Jewish Hanukkah, candles are used to represent the concepts of the holiday. The symbols of Kwanzaa crops, and so it goes on with the concept. So right there, it basically says that it's like Hanukkah, but it's also like Thanksgiving, right? And it comes at the time of Christmas, but it's based on these seven principles. So now, where, oh, what part of this is plagiarized? What part of it is plagiarized? You could take a time period, but it's a festival of yam in Ghana, right, and in Nigeria, right? They're using principles, African principles. But now, what are the seven principles of Hanukkah, right? So yes, in Hanukkah they light, and I can look at Hanukkah. Let me just look up Hanukkah and see what the ritual is. But basically, it's African Americans are embedded with many cultures, and so he conceptualized something to replace uh, what Christmas is. So I don't know if that is, if you want to say
Comedic Christians are all good then, I guess. But Reggie,
that's
I don't
a
expect
not a
you to
good art.
criticize. I don't expect you to criticize Karenga, but would you have that article, that interview? Because you said it was only an excerpt in Mukasa Africa's article.
No, no, because I don't think that. I think that he is tearing down. I'm trying to figure out what his purpose is. Um,
It's to inform the people, just like you do when you criticize some comedic
you
people,
can inform the
non-comedic people.
people, but tearing down a person, what is negative about? I don't practice it, but what is the?
Some people will say you're tearing down Jabari. So, I mean,
I'm
it-
criticizing. I don't tear down Brother Jabari directly, right? What I am
and I would agree. I would agree.
what I am
Though you have a
doing is
focus on him.
I'm talking about information, but I'm not. He's somebody that I knew for years. I'm not tearing him down personally.
But with all fairness,
It,
I think it's unfair for Mukasa Africa for you to say that he's tearing down Karenga because I
well,
don't think
let's
you
see
have
what else
read.
he says. I'm gonna stop
Yeah, well,
sharing my
well, the,
screen.
the, the article is quite long, so you can read it in your own time. But I
But
think,
you made the point. So what is
well, I
he's
made the
making?
point about the plagiarism of Hanukkah, which is a part of the article. But in your own time, you are free to read the full article if you want to,
Right, but
because
I need you. I want you to make your point. I want you to see. I
but
want to
I
find
made
out
my
where it's
point.
plagiarism.
Because we were talking about Hanukkah, and I was talking about the fact that it's plagiarized, and you asked me what is plagiarized, and then I actually went to read where it explains the where it was plagiarized. The time period, the candles, and so on.
That's
So
plagiarism.
yes,
Okay.
to me it is, yes, and to many other people.
Uh,
But really, I don't think it's fair to say that he's tearing down Karanga. At least if you read the article first. But you are always free to contact brother Mukasa, Dr. Mukasa Africa Maat. Um, and then ultimately we'll never agree on everything. That's how life is.
well, let me just pull up and see what the principles are, and let's see what is Hanukkah. So let's just
Well, the
do it.
principles will not be the same, but we've seen the
Well, the
chandelier.
principles are not the same.
Yeah, but the time period, the chandelier, so that's good
That
enough.
makes it okay. So let's just see. Um, okay, background, traditional view, um, the rituals. So let's say kindling the Hanukkah lights, right? Okay, so let's see what they're talking about. Each night throughout the 8-day holiday, candle or oil light is lit. A candle, oil-based candle is lit as a universal beautification. Okay, so then what are the days and why? Okay, so um, okay, okay, uh, okay. The reason for Hanukkah lights is not for the lighting of the house within, but for the illumination of the house without. Okay, so then let's see, candle lighting time. That sounds interesting. Uh, Inexpensive small wax. Blessings over the candles, right? Okay. Blessing of the candles. Blessed are you, Lord of God, Lord of the universe, who has sanctified with us his commandments and commanded us to kindle Hanukkah lights. Hmm, okay. Um, okay, so what are we kindle these lights for the miracles and wonders, for the redemption of the battles you made for our forefathers in the days of the season, throughout your holy priest during the 8 days of Hanukkah. These lights are sacred. And okay, so what? Maybe here I don't see them doing a day for each principle. Okay, so these are just the 8 days of the festival, but I don't see where they are aligned to this, like Dr. Milana Karenga is doing. Um,
It
okay,
would not be exactly the same because it's plagiarized, not a copy. If it was exactly the same, it would be a copy. But then again, I really don't expect you to criticize, Koranga. The people here, they
no,
have,
I criticize Dr. Karenga
yeah.
on some things, but I want to see where they are, where the 7 days are aligned to the principles. So I'm just trying to figure out. I know that they're marking the days of Hanukkah and they are lighting this, but where are the principles of Hanukkah that they are
The
lighting?
principle is something else. It's something different. But we have the time period and the symbol, that chandelier. It's like me, choosing the time period of Ramadan, and I build like an
Mm,
edifice or a house, and I say,
okay.
okay, I give it an African name, and and some people will point out that, hey, this
Mm.
plagiarized from the Ramadan. It's
Well,
just as
I
simple as
think that
that.
you need more. I think that you need more. I think that the article that the thing that I read is basically says it's like several things. So they pulled from several concepts to.
But you notice they mentioned Ghana and Nigeria, but then the
Mhm.
name Kwanzaa includes Swahili, languages that are not spoken in Ghana and Nigeria. So it's a melting pot. It's a mix of everything.
Right, it's not
But
authentic African. It's African American. It's African
fine,
American.
fine. But people don't feel that way. People feel like it's something that comes from Africa, that was practiced in Africa. But at the end of the
They
day,
never
people.
said that it was Kwanzaa didn't. I mean, Dr. Malana Karenga didn't say it was African. He says African American.
Well, according
The
to the
article
interview,
says
he told them, he told the people that he's African. But some people might disagree with that interview. They might disagree. Maybe it's a white man who made the
what did he?
interview.
I don't
So
think he
there it is.
said that. Say, pull up where he said it again. Let me stop sharing my screen. Pull up where he
Um.
says it's African. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Okay. Let me
I
let me
thought I
just.
stopped sharing. Pull it up.
Yeah, you have stopped sharing. So let me put it back on. Um. So this is Holly West, who interviewed Karenga in 1978 for the Washington Post. And that's why he wrote, I created Kwanzaa, love Ron Karenga like a teenager who's just divulged a deeply held precious secret. People think it's African, but it's not. I wanted to
Okay,
give. Well, but
he
hold on,
said
hold
it's
on, hold
not
on, hold on,
African.
hold on. No, no. He said people think it's African, but it's not. And he said, I wanted to give black people a holiday of their own. So I came up with Kwanzaa. I said it was African because black people in this country wouldn't celebrate it if they knew it was American. So then what matters is, do we
Hmm.
take it as something credible? Do we take it as something that he really said? We'll never know. We're not there, but that's what is reported.
Well, he said it was African. It has African concepts in it, right? The
Yeah.
the 7 days are African
But
concepts.
we went
There's a
from he didn't
concept
say it's
of
African to, okay, he said it was African, but we never agree. It's all good. It's all good. People have the information, so they can make their own opinion about it. They can make their mind up. But then we shouldn't criticize Quebec Christians if it's all good to celebrate Kwanzaa, because Kwanzaa is a plagiarized version of the Jewish holiday Hanukkah. So if we claim to be uh, conscious African people or into African consciousness, and we celebrate the Jewish holiday, I'm saying, what's the point telling people, We shouldn't be in those Abrahamic belief system. We should follow our own if we follow other people's tradition, you know. But the thing with Kwanzaa is that it's been practiced for so long. It is an established holiday, you know. Even in like have
Mhm.
stamps when it's a time period on TV stations, news channels. They might say, "Okay, happy Kwanzaa." It's Kwanzaa, so it is something established. And when something is established, it's very difficult for people to stop
Right, but think
practicing it.
about, okay, so let's just, because it may be practiced in Europe in some places, but
Oh yes, it is. It is
okay.
in France
So
as well.
basically, what happens in the 7 days of Kwanzaa, for the most part, right? Um, First is the principles that you celebrate, the principles that he's attributing to our success in America, largely the gifts that are given are African based, and it's based on 7 days where African people make money based on a particular holiday that is not a 1 day holiday on Christmas. So the gifts that they give might be African based and they might be European based, but they give it for the particular principles, um, uh, in the context of those particular principles. And so it for African people in America, it gave us a economics around this period that was separate than the 1 day of Christmas, and it helped kind of reframe our minds. It wasn't hurtful to us. Now is there hero worship of Malana Karenga? I don't. I think not. I think that there are small groups of people who follow him. That there's hero, but there are enough people who hate Dr. Malana Karenga for the issue of Bunchy Carter, the murder of Bunchy Carter, and the conflict of the Black Panther Party and us. But there are Black Panther Party members that celebrate Kwanzaa, independent of the founder, Ron Karenga. So the fact of the matter is that he decided that we needed to replace the commercial holiday of Christmas and Christmas in the United States. So you have your point of views. I just think that I just wanted to. I didn't see the whole article of the brother calling himself Maat. A lot of people call themselves Maat. He may be a member of a group of people who certainly don't like anything that Dr. Malana Karenga has written, but Dr. Karenga did write probably the most informative book on Maat, um, uh, pretty much ever written on Maat, right? So obviously he hates Dr. Malana. Well, he may not hate Dr. Malana Karenga's book on Maat. He might just not like Kwanzaa. Here's his point of view, but Dr. Karenga's book on Maat is probably one of the best books. Do I have it? Yeah, here it goes, right here.
No, it will be very difficult for me to read that book because it's like a Soul on Ice by Eldridge Clever. I always had a great deal of respect for the original Black Panther Party,
Yeah.
and I like Raska's music, and he entitled his first album "Soul on Ice" after the book by Eldridge Clever. But when I read the book, to my surprise, he explained, that he used to rape women. He first practiced on black women, then he first practiced on black women, then he moved to white women, and ultimately he went to jail for that. So I couldn't finish the book. I actually went out of the apartment, went down and threw it in the garbage. And Garanga, he went to jail for torturing black women. So all these things makes it difficult for me personally
Mhm.
to read his book.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you should read this book on Ma'at, which is
No, that's what I'm talking about. Knowing that he tortured black women when he was the head of an organization for black people, not when he was like young and wild and and the
so you
plagiarization.
wouldn't read this book?
Well, like I was saying, it's difficult for me to read a book by a dude who tortured black woman, and Dale Jones says that some objects were inserted in the vagina. He said that on tape, you know. And Mukasa Africa addresses the fact that the transcript of the trial magically disappeared, so maybe there's some stuff they didn't want us to know. And I know some people will say, "Oh, that was in the past," because some people have expiration date, for whatever happens. But I'm saying for me personally, it will be very difficult for me to read that book. For that, for the fight against the fight against the Panther, Bunchy Carter, the accusation of being an agent. But some people will say that was Conter Pro.
There
But
was agents on both sides.
yeah, we can say that. We can say that. But he at the end of the day, people will say it's Conter Pro. We never know for sure.
Can
But
I ask you, can I just generally ask you,
mm,
what's your age?
40.
Okay. Okay. So you you're 1 year after the age of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz Malcolm X. One
Mm,
year. I met Professor Small when he was 39 years old. I met Dr. Jeffries when I think he was about 40, 46, 47 years old. That's when I met Dr. Jeffries. I met Dr. Clark at 70, and I met Dr. Bennett. He was maybe about 56 or something like that. Um, you live long enough, you will find that even the people that you cherish the most, right, have mortal uh, or mortals. Even the people that you cherish the most. You should iri Maat, try to jed Maat, try to unk Maat, and not concern yourself so much on other people, based on
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
things.
If people run around torturing black women, I'm concerned about this. We need to
Yeah,
have some standards. You know.
yeah,
But he
but
went to jail for that, so he paid his debt to society. You know.
mm,
And
yeah,
and 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 I think he studied in jail. I don't know if he got a PhD in jail or if he's out of jail that he got a PhD. But that's a fact. That's a fact. That's the reason why his wife
okay.
left.
I think we'll talk.
But
I think hopefully, if I live long enough, um, and you live long enough, when you're my age, I'm hopefully uh, uh, at that point during this course that we can talk about life, to be because see, if you don't believe in redemption so Malcolm X was a pimp. Malcolm X was a thief.
he saw drug and all that. That's true, but that
Right.
was before Malcolm X was into movement for black people. Karenga was a leader of the Earth Organization. That's a huge difference.
Yeah,
But
he
at
was
the end of the day,
how old
yeah,
was Dr. Malana Karenga when he was a
I
leader?
really don't know. I mean, we could look it
Right,
up. We could look it up.
right. So the
But
fact of the
no
matter
no.
is,
But that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse because
no, but
you you
you
you,
have
you
to.
know how you gonna criticize people and label them committed Christian, but a guy who tortured black woman, you're defending him. That's unfair.
Because those are two different things.
It's different things, but
Comedic
it's worse to
Christians,
torture black women, isn't it?
my critique on Comedic Christians is about doing the work, right? It's not about crimes. They have done no crimes against black people. My critique about them is meaning keeping Christianity alive so that they could bring about a new concept that's to me very similar to the Christian faith as the way they're organized. And the fact of the matter is they don't read primary text to make their point, and that the ceremonies that they do are their own innovations, and that uh, and then uh, Brother Jabari does connect it historically, but a lot of the others do not. They haven't had the education that Brother Jabari has, and they pretty much just follow. My critique is a little bit different than them. I can critique. Difference is that Shaka and Dougal, I can critique. I'm a person of standing in this community. So I'm not a YouTuber. You can Google my name. You could see me in my activism. I am not perfect, but I'm a person of standing of this community with higher education. And if it wasn't for my work, many of these concepts wouldn't be in YouTube land, right? And they wouldn't be corrected. So I correct a lot of people, and because of my character, even though I disagree with them, I'm able to have discussions with almost everybody, and it's not a shouting match because of my character.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing when we are able to dialogue, but then again, I could say that Kwanzaa is keeping Judaism alive as well. And just because somebody knows the text, he doesn't get a pass for torturing. But once again, he was convicted for that. He did his time, so he paid his debt to society. But the nuance, when people try to make the comparison with Malcolm X, the nuance is that he was indeed the leader of a black organization, no matter, regardless of his age at the time. But we can never go back. This thing happened, but it's important for people to know because a lot of people don't know that, you see. So it was his action, him and his members, because he, um, uh, so if people want to talk about the work, I understand. They want to say we all make mistakes, and indeed, some people, had done some stuff in the street or elsewhere. Uh, there is the book that you mentioned, and I've heard about it many times. I heard about it many times. But then the holiday itself, which was the first thing that I addressed, there's reasons
Well,
to
I
to have
was
concern about it.
okay. So just so that you know, I was in the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization uh, before it began. Its first one of his first pre-conferences was in New York,
Yeah,
right?
I saw you on tape,
Yeah,
looking very young.
that was the second or third conference, right?
Mm,
I knew Dr. Jacob Carruthers,
mm.
who has enormous standing in our community when he was alive, and he was a friend, associate, and worked with Dr. Malana Karenga on the Hosea. Uh, I know the conflicts between Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark on Dr. Malana Karenga. Dr. Clark didn't have much to do with Dr. Karenga, but didn't say any of the things in public.
Oh
Uh,
no, I'm sorry. I have the tape. I can play it now. He publicly addressed Karenga, and he said, he has not. And actually, it's better to demonstrate than so that people can see it for the record. But yes, he did address Karenga publicly. He said he never atoned for his mistreatment of black women, for his activity against the Panthers. I'm just looking for the article right now so people can see that I'm not making it up.
mhm.
Sometimes, I lost channels, so the videos were removed, but hopefully it
Or
will
you don't
still
have to
be
play it to
online.
get your channel removed. But
No, no, no. I'm saying sometimes I had many accounts, and sometimes some videos I
Dr.
uploaded were not available. But just for the record, here. Oh no, I need to play the actual video itself.
You don't want to.
So
You want to make sure your channel doesn't get removed because I don't
no,
want to
no, no.
keep.
It's not what I was trying to say, but it's uh it's 45 second actually. I'm just gonna share it now. Now there it is.
He has not atoned to the community for his attempt to destroy the Panther movement. He has not atoned for being a police informer. He has not atoned for the way he treated black women. And look now, the women he mistreated and mutilated were dark in complexion. The women in his harem are light in complexion. The number one woman is a Mexican with what seemed to be an Afro wig.
So just for the record, he did address it publicly.